As the S&P 500 trades near all-time highs, there are clear winners and losers from the pandemic. Lockdown measures continue to harm travel businesses like Carnival Cruises, United Airlines and Marriott. Meantime, companies like Netflix, Amazon and Zoom have made huge gains, serving customers who are now stuck in their homes. Citrix has also soared during the sudden work-from-home revolution, despite a drop after the last month's earnings report. The digital workspace company is up nearly 30% this year. David Henschel is the Citrix CEO. He joins us from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. David, thank you so much for being with us. So obviously your company provides remote working solutions. You've benefited significantly during the pandemic. Walk us through what's been the impact on subscriptions and renewal rates in this environment.
Well, certainly our business results have been extremely strong over the first half of the year. We're fortunate enough to have a legacy of really delivering remote work infrastructure for hundreds of thousands of customers around the world. And we've been doing this for about 30 years. So when the pandemic hit and customers were really rushing large populations to work remotely, it was just a natural extension for us. So we saw our subscription businesses increase 50+% year over year. Renewal rates have been up. And more importantly, though, I think we've just been able to service all of those thousands of customers and tens of millions of users to put them in a position to be productive, to be secure, to be engaged, regardless of where they are physically during this pandemic.
So despite the sort of rise in demand, especially initially, the economic environment we're in right now is somewhat challenging, and that could lead to further losses when it comes to your business, just like most businesses in this country. How are you diversifying the kinds of products you offer in this climate?
We've got a broad array of products already, focusing on remote work infrastructure, networking and cloud technologies, and those things that we can really bring together to create this idea of a digital workspace. And if you take a big step back and you think about the nuance of this pandemic, and just look at the U.S. market for a minute. We have roughly 40% of the U.S. workforce working remotely, delivering about 60% of all economic output. I think the one real surprise for a lot of organizations during this period of time has just been how productive, how engaged, and how successful their organizations have been in this mode. Because let's face it, remote work is in fact work. And many organizations that I talk to, healthcare, banking, you name it, are looking at this as an opportunity not only to leverage the infrastructure for today. Tomorrow will be a hybrid work model, but also the infrastructure to radically transform their own businesses. New business models, new ways to engage with customers. So I think for us, this should be a tailwind for our business for many years.
You mentioned obviously productivity, sort of surprising a lot of business owners in this environment. People are more engaged, etc. But in terms of some of the surveys that Citrix has conducted in this environment, what are you gauging in terms of people's desire to work from home? Because that really will have an impact in terms of the long-term trends of this work from home revolution.
Yeah, it's across the board, not just Citrix surveys, but many organizations are surveying these types of things right now. The conclusion is that the vast majority of workers around the globe are looking for a more flexible environment. And the idea being that they can be productive regardless of where they are. It's kind of an antiquated idea to presume that everyone is productive based on the number of hours they spend in a physical work environment. And I think this environment has really proven that incorrect. And we've long had this view that work is about output, it's about engagement. And so providing a level of tools and services to allow people to be safe, be productive, to be engaged, whether they're in an office, at home, on the road, or frankly, anywhere in between, has really proven out during this period of time. And I think you're going to see many more organizations embrace this idea going forward. It's better for their business, it's better for the employees, and it's better for the bottom line.
How prepared were companies just in advance of this pandemic in terms of cybersecurity? Obviously, working from home presents new challenges when it comes to cybersecurity, but also aside from that, bandwidth, for example, pressures on bandwidth, pressures on capacity. What was the level of preparation going into this?
I think it depends on the business and the geography, certainly. I was just speaking with a major European bank the other day. They were explaining that the investments that they made to really transform their business, both Citrix, Microsoft, and a couple of our other partners, allowed them to move 75,000 of their employees almost overnight. And so it was relatively seamless. But they concluded that they would have had a pretty major problem had they not been making those investments ahead of time. You look at organizations that we work with to help, transform their companies to the cloud. The University of Sydney is one example that we've talked about, where when the pandemic hit, they all of a sudden had 14,000 students in China that couldn't physically reach them. So because we had been engaged on a cloud transformation, they were able to put that infrastructure in place, again, nearly overnight, to be able to engage those students during the pandemic, and then in the future, leverage the infrastructure for more of a remote learning infrastructure. So those that had prepared and thought about agility, digital transformation, and many of these larger trends, I think they were in great shape. Others are still trying to play catch up, and so we'll be working with them for quite some time.
Right, David Hendricks, live for us there. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.